I really didn't know who you were talking about there for a little bit, but I was excited to know who it was. I was looking around. Yay! Until you threw out the Coyotes there, I was like, man, this guy sounds interesting. So it was, thanks so much. I appreciate the opportunity to come and do this. I love, you get to meet people as a player and people that you come across over your career that when you run into them, they have an effect on who you are, and you know you're probably going to run into that person a lot more often in your life. And Billy is one of those guys that as I've run into him, I have enjoyed more and more and more. And then as you run into other people that know Billy, they only keep saying better and better things, and they always qualify it with he's such a man's man. Like he's just, it's an absolute wonderful. Thanks, Billy. I appreciate it so much. Well, thank you so much for having me. I've been given the opportunity to do this a couple times now, and this is my third time, and it's an absolute treat to be able to come here and look out and see people that have such a likeness in their heart and want to be a part of something that is bigger than themselves, and that's what Hockey Ministries is. It's bigger than who you are, and as a group, it's grown and it's special, and to be able to come here and speak is something that I really appreciate. I grew up in an absolutely unbelievable family. I grew up in a situation where my parents ran a Christian ranch for kids, and we had on the weekends we might have. The United Church on one weekend bring out their youth groups and their kids, and they would do a retreat for their kids, and they'd have a service on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I'd get to do a service Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I'd see what the United Church had to say. Then I'd see what the Alliance Church had to say. Then I'd see what the Pentecostal Church had to say. Then I'd have the Foursquare Men's Church come out, and it was amazing on how different every single one was, but everything based off Jesus. And it was cool. And I did learn, one of my favorite things that my sister and my brother and I would kind of all laughed about when the joke started to go around was a kid that comes to church, and the Sunday school teacher would say, that's there's something that lives in a tree and it has a big bushy tail and it loves nuts. And everybody's like, oh, what is it? And so everyone kind of looked around the room, and the one little girl held up her hand, and she's like, well, that sounds like a squirrel, but is the answer Jesus? Because that was kind of the way that I was raised, that the answer is always Jesus, no matter what. And we kind of have fun with it, and we'd laugh about it, but that was the way I was raised. And it was something that I've always been so blessed and so fortunate to have a foundation that is absolutely so founded in who he is and what an amazing, amazing gift he was to us, and an amazing human he was. And it was an opportunity as a child to grow up, and that was special. And so as I got older, and I got to play junior hockey, and then I got to play in the NHL, and I would do different things that people would comment on. They'd love to come up and ask me, so as a Christian athlete or as a religious person, how was it hard to be a professional athlete? And they love to ask that. And then when they'd ask it, it would almost always be my response, well, I'm not religious. And it's so funny because people always, and I knew what they were saying. Like they were asking me and they wanted to know, well, what is it? What is it? Why are you religious? And I'd say, oh, no, I'm not religious. I believe what the Bible says, and I believe what Jesus says. Even though I knew that's pretty much exactly what they were asking me, I would try to answer with this really smart, kind of clever answer. It's like, but that's kind of what I was just asking, isn't it? Like, isn't that what religion? Isn't that a little bit about religion? And I'd always kind of be like, no, I'm not a religious person. That's not who I am. I believe in Jesus and I follow the Word of God. That's what I am. And I wanted to create this distinction, that there's a distinction in that, and I wanted people to know that there's a distinction in that. And so as I've gotten older, now that my career's kind of, well, it's over, and then I get I get to a little bit more time to think about things. It's been fascinating to come across, start reading and getting more involved in it. And one of the things that I found to be so interesting is, like, well, what is religion? What is it that it seems that everybody kind of wants to put that label on? Well, what is it? And I've heard that, you've heard that phrase a ton. I mean, we joke about how hockey is a religion to a lot of people, especially if you're from the state of Minnesota. Like, I was just hearing how the state of Minnesota, it's all about hockey. Hockey is the state of Minnesota. I was teasing Billy because there's a few people maybe in Montreal that might argue that it's a full religion in Montreal. They teach it in their universities, and they claim that it's a religion. The Montreal Canadiens, that's a religion. I've heard you'll hear people talk about how they religiously go to the gym. That's not something I do all the time anymore, because I used to do it, but not anymore, and I'm so thankful I don't have to do that. But they religiously go to the gym, so they like to use that word. Or someone that is religiously checks their phone, or they religiously do different things, and so they want to throw this around. And so what is it? What is it that we're all about? Like, what is religion? And why are we afraid of wanting to be classified that way? Because I do not want to be classified that way. And yet there's a lot of things in my life that I'd like to say that I do religiously. And so I was trying to look it up and try to find different things and what it is. And some people say that religion is a belief in God. That's what religion is. It's a belief in God. And there's an element of that that's very true. It's without a doubt that people that believe in God religiously believe. But if you want to take it to the organized religions of the world, Zen Buddhism doesn't believe in a God. And so maybe then religion isn't exactly the best application for a belief in God, because obviously there's a lot of people that believe that Zen Buddhism is a religion. Some people say it's a belief in the supernatural. And so maybe that's what religion is, because we want to find something that we can hold on to, that there's something bigger and greater than us. And that's something that there's without a doubt some belief in that. But there's some religions that don't believe in the supernatural that are called religions. And they don't believe that there's anything beyond what we see right now. There isn't anything that's outside of the reality that we live in and the material side that we live in. So maybe there's even a better definition than that. And so one of the things that as I was reading and as kind of going through things, it says that it's sometimes better defined by a belief that explains what life is all about and who we are and what are the most important things that a human being can do and spend their time doing. That's kind of what a religion is, because we want to get to that point where, and that's why they talk about the Montreal Canadiens being a religion, why doing things that you spend your life doing is so important. And so some people, one of the things that as you get thinking about that in the world that we live in now, it seems that there's a belief that, it's just this material world, that's all there is. There's nothing else to it. Just what we see is what we get, and at some point you're going to die. And when you die, that's it. You're gone. You're no longer here, and that's it. That's all there is. And that you don't want anyone to kind of tell you their beliefs. You just let them have their beliefs, and don't let anyone kind of make you do anything. And the purpose of life is to be happy and to not let other people impose their beliefs on you. And that's what you should be doing. But it's amazing how if you take that narrative and that worldview that in itself has become a religion. And that in itself, and that we are all, as much as I don't want to say I'm a religious person, that we all have a need and a desire to have a belief and an explanation for what life's all about. What's important? What is it that we want to spend our time doing that's going to have an influence on who we are? And we all want to have a list. Okay, if I had to have a list, or if you can tell me what it is to do, what's that list and what do I got to do? What is it going to be that is going to be important? What is the truth? What's the way I should live? What is the truth behind all of this. And so as I started kind of reading through it that way, I was like, you know what? I kind of want to see where do mine stack up? Where is it? What is the most important to me? Where are my beliefs? What are the things that matter to me? And where is it that I need to go in order to find some of these answers? So I started kind of going through the things that I've read and going through the things that are important to me in my life. And it all came back to the squirrel and to Jesus. It always does. It always does in my life. And so it would come back. And so it was amazing. And when Jesus, at his time, they asked him the same thing. And it was the religious leaders that asked him, what are the most important things? They wanted to know the same thing. They wanted to be, okay, we got all these commands. We got all these things that are amazing. But tell us what the most important things are so that's what I can be religious about. And Jesus said, it's pretty simple. It's two things. It says, you love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your mind. And you love your neighbor as yourself. And it's like, that's it? That's all it is? That's it. You do those things, and the rest of the commands, you'll fall in line. And it seems so simple because right now we live in a world where no one wants to be told anything. No one everyone has the right to believe whatever they want, and you understand that. But love is the most important thing. The love that God has shown us, the love that he sacrificed for us is the most important thing. And we talk about, well, are we really called to love? And that's all it is. In a world where it's like, well, no, we should really tolerate, or we should coexist, or we should accept, or we should just get along with. I'm in an amazing marriage. I have a wife that is so much out of my league and so special. I have 4 amazing kids that are so beautiful. And if I was to simply coexist with her, that wouldn't work very well. She tolerates me, so that one might go along with it a little bit. But if you simply want to have a relationship where you coexist, or you tolerate, or you just simply accept, those are words that are often used, and they're positive words. Those are words that people want to say that are a good thing, but they're not love. Because love is hard. Love is, your kids are doing something that you know they shouldn't be doing, and you're like, I gotta talk to them, I gotta correct them, I gotta help them, but I don't want to. It's going to take time. It's going to take effort. It's going to take me going to them and explaining to them and taking the time to make sure that they know where I'm coming from, but that love takes time. It's going to be where a friend that you have to talk to, that it's not an easy conversation. It's hard. It's getting to know somebody. It's getting to know who they are and then letting them know that they matter. It's not going by me like, hey, good job. How are you doing? You feeling fine? Good. All right. I'm off. It's taking time to getting to know our neighbors, to getting to know the people around us. It's taking time to getting to know the people that maybe you just don't want to know. But that's what we're called to do. That's what Jesus said when he said that we are to love our neighbor as ourselves. Those are the things that are hard to do and the simplest thing. Because when John was out of exile and they brought him back, and the religious kind of leaders of the time and the church was getting some traction, and they were like trying to get the church going. And they're like, you know what we need to do? We need to bring the guy back that was closest to Jesus. He'd left the island of Patmos. He's coming back. And they'd bring him in to speak, and they'd have him stand up, and they'd be like, he was way older than everybody, and he'd been around, and he wasn't moving very fast. They'd be like, give us some, what was it like to sit and walk and talk with Jesus? And they're like, what's the secret? And he'd say, my children, love one another. And they're like, that's great. I heard that one before. I've heard that one before. And they said, but what was the secret of it? What was his secret? And you just repeat it. My children, love one another. And they're looking for these amazing things. And so often when people would ask me about different, what's your thing? What's, this whole religious thing? And all I It probably took me way too long to figure out. But all I was called to do was to love. And that is what makes us special, is that we have the ability, because of what Jesus did when he died on the cross for us and sacrificed everything and gave up everything for us. And not gave up everything as in his life, but gave up everything as the Son of God, the creator of the universe, the most important, I don't know what else to say. He is it. He gave everything up to come and take care of us. And that's love. It's a sacrifice. It's not easy. It's not to tolerate. It's not to get along with. It's to love. It's to walk up beside someone that you disagree with, that you don't have the same views as, and to love them. To walk up beside and sit with people that don't say things that you necessarily agree with, and to love them. You look at the group of people that Jesus spent his time with, and they were the farthest thing from the religious people. They were not the people that we wanted to claim that, I can hang out with that guy because we're so like-minded. It was people that were drastically different. And he didn't hold back, but he didn't come to condemn, he came to love. And it sounds so simple. It sounds so simple. And yet we all struggle with it so much. That if we as a church can love each other the way that Christ loved us, that they will see Christ in us. And it will be different than everybody else and everything else because it's real. And when push came to shove, and when you're asking about what is religion and how do you get there and how do you find it and what's the way and what is the truth and what's life, well, he answered that question as well. He said, I am the way, I am the truth, and I am the life. And just like you go all the way back to that silly squirrel in the tree, the answer, as much as I want to make fun and tease and joked about it as a kid growing up, that, man, no matter what, the answer is always Jesus. It's always Jesus. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.